And we grew up in a community that literally was 100% Caucasian with the exception of our family. My parents were first generation, born in this country. World War II broke out and Pearl Harbor was bombed, and the notices went up on the telephone poles that those of Japanese descent were going to be forced into the internment camps. It really created this distinct awareness for her that diversity can sometimes be difficult. It was something that was a little bit of an ember, I think, that started to glow inside of her as to the importance of helping others adapt in this world. And it just all kind of melded together to create this deep sense of empathy that runs so deep in her soul. Her satisfaction comes through seeing others succeed, where she knows at least she contributed a grain of help along the way.
I first met Wendy through her role as national president of NAPABA. I was just struck by her desire to really want to make a positive impact. It was just really palpable. She is a very strong advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She really wants to make sure that everybody has a fair shot. And she's really shown that advocacy, not just by words, but by action. She really is, in many ways, a force of nature. But she's not a force of nature like a tornado or a storm. She's more of a gentle breeze who comes in and makes changes in subtle ways, yet profound ways. She's a colleague of mine. She's a friend of mine. And I don't know if she really even knows this, but I think of her as a mentor as well.
Shirley Chisholm was the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Congress, and she said, "Service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth." And I think Wendy really embodies that. Wendy has so many firsts, and one of them is that she was the first Asian woman as an associate professor who was tenured at Temple. Wendy's never been afraid of being the first, but she clearly states she never wanted to be the last. If they hadn't had the Margaret Brent Award after Wendy, they would have had to create it. She's individually shown what she's made of, but then she didn't stop there and say, "Aren't I grand?" She then looked around and said, "How can I create an environment where others can follow behind me, but do it in their own way?" And I think that Wendy's very visible presence in so many leadership positions has probably conveyed the message that you too can do this, and maybe you'll do it better than I did it, and that's okay.
I've known Wendy for almost 2 decades. She was my mentor as part of NAPABA's mentoring program. At the time that I met her, there were very few Asian Pacific American general counsels, much less Asian Pacific American female general counsels. So in that sense alone, she was a trailblazer. What I loved about Wendy as a mentor is that she really cares about people as a whole person. She really takes the time to get to know each person for who they are and takes them as they come. There are so many people who are trailblazers like her, but they don't have time for much else. Wendy makes the time. And that really, I feel like, puts her head and shoulders above so many other people who are in similar positions as her. I met her through an official mentoring program, but that mentoring program was 17 years ago, and it was only supposed to last a year. And I still consider Wendy an active mentor in my life. Aside from the fact that she's been a trailblazer, she cares so much about other people that I can't think of anybody who's better suited for this award.
My deepest thanks to the American Bar Association. I see past presidents, current and past officers of the association sitting among us, so thank you so much. And to the Commission on Women for this great honor. To my fellow honorees, all of you for sharing your inspiring stories and most of all your wisdom. And special thanks to ABA past president Paulette Brown and to the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association. They led my nomination. To a group of my mentees who added their first person stories to the package, and also Michelle Coleman Mays, who chaired the Commission on Women during the 3 years that I served, and Judge Peter Reyes for their generous remarks in the video package that inspire me to be the very best version of myself. Now, I have long admired Margaret Brent honorees, many of you are sitting with us today in the room, for your excellence as lawyers and for uplifting women in our profession. And in comparison, I feel quite ordinary Now, I'm not being overly humble. I've had a very good career filled with opportunities that I could never have fathomed when I began law school in the 1970s. I'm a first-generation college graduate. I'm the daughter of parents whose educational opportunities beyond high school were stolen when they were unjustly incarcerated during World War II solely because they were Japanese Americans. But still, I've wondered whether I've accomplished anything really big and worthy of this award. Then I came to realize how much it's the little things that count in the long run. And here's a story that might illustrate how much impact we can have by doing the little things. When I was a very young associate in big law, a brash Wall Street investment banker asked me to my face, "Did they hire you because you're a twofer?" Meaning, of course, a woman and a minority. And without missing a beat, the partner from my law firm interjected, "Actually, we hired Wendy because she's really smart." And in that moment, he demonstrated both allyship and sponsorship, concepts that we didn't even have labels for at the time. And he brought me back from the brink of humiliation, allowing me to breathe and to regain my balance. Also, he threw water on the naysayers who say, every time a woman of color advances to a prominent position, well, it was only because of affirmative action. And I wonder why they never realized that for decades, the Old Boy Network was its own form of affirmative action. And when I read the lovely letter from my mentees, you heard Bettina on the video, I realized how much an accumulation of little things can have impact on the careers and the self-esteem of young women attorneys. One of them even shared a story that after I spoke to a group of women and diverse law students at her school, a classmate coined the phrase, "What would Wendy do?" She said it was a general question and mindset for facing obstacles in professional decisions with grace and strength. Now, can you imagine? This was a young woman I'd met in a brief sliver of time who had just a glimpse of my life journey. And that journey included being the first and only woman and person of color in various jobs. Now, I can think of some milestone achievements on complex legal challenges, but I have to tell you, they pale in comparison to what has really mattered the most, and that is having a positive impact on people and organizations, breaking professional barriers to help open doors for diverse attorneys, and most of all, the collective accomplishments of the women I have mentored and sponsored over the years and of whom I'm so very proud. So please, all of us, let's all remember to do the little things with purpose and intention and all the time. Every time you choose a team for a new matter or a special project, you attend a meeting or reception, or simply ride the elevator with a young attorney. Because the little things can add up to sponsorship of women who might otherwise feel invisible in your organization. And I know with every fiber of my being that this is true because I know what it has felt like to be invisible. So for all of us, it is both a privilege and a responsibility to make that difference in someone's career, many careers, I hope. And let's also remember that sisterhood, which includes all of our male allies in this room, sisterhood is more important today than ever because we live in precarious times where the freedoms and the rights that my generation of women fought so hard to attain are now in serious peril. We've lost so much ground, and it's going to take our collective resolve and action to secure the future for all of our daughters and granddaughters. And in closing, I want to acknowledge my husband, Larry Pittman, my brother Kerry was on the video, and my family of choice, the Scott Fortneys, because these are the people who know me the best, and they are my bedrock in both good times and bad. So today is a very good time, and I'm so grateful to have you here beside me. Thank you so much.